Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you all are having a great day so far. So today we are going to be replacing the screen on this T530 laptop, upgrading it to a 1920 by 1080p screen. Currently it is this 1366 by 768 resolution with some pretty poor viewing angles. Perhaps it cannot truly be appreciated on camera. However, we could see how it is slightly dimmer here and becomes brighter towards the bottom right. So this particular video is not going to be focused on going through the various features of the Lenovo T530 laptop. It is a ThinkPad, so many of the sort of options that you could be expecting on ThinkPads are going to be present on it. I will say that this is definitely an older model, and by today's standards, many of its options may seem a little bit dated. However, I do want to remark on the construction of this laptop. Even though different plastics have different types of strength, the plastic used on Lenovo's is still very strong, and the laptop doesn't necessarily feel premium, but it does feel like a working man's laptop, or a working person's laptop, I guess. It has this locking latch as well on the screen, which is nice, even if it does have a little bit of a little bit too much give, I guess. When you like squeeze it down like this, just, yeah, it's a little bit too much play for some people, but I don't really mind it. It was a novelty at the time, I suppose, and perhaps even today. Let's go ahead and close that. So with that being said, we can go ahead and get started. So thankfully, this screen does completely fall down sideways like this. So I'm going to shut down the computer, change the viewing angle of the camera so that we could get a better look at the way this screen attaches to the rest of the laptop. All right, so played around with it for a little bit, and this looks to be as good of a viewing angle as I'm probably going to be able to get. So moving on to this procedure. If this laptop is similar to any of the other laptops that are of a plastic construction within the past 10 or 15 years, what we should be able to do is remove this plastic bezel, and then from there will probably be retaining screws or some kind of adhesive that is holding the panel in place. And then once we are able to remove that adhesive and remove those screws, we can gently remove the panel. There should be a ribbon cable or some kind of thin connector that connects the monitor to the motherboard. We should be able to disengage that connector, connect that ribbon cable to our new screen. We can place it in its general area, turn on the laptop, see if it works, and then reassemble the rest of the machine. So with all that being said, we can go ahead and get started. I'm going to be using this manual screwdriver kit, and we'll acknowledge the various screws which are going to be removed during the process. So let's see what we have here. I think I do see that there are these little plastic squares, which I can probably get a thin blade underneath to go ahead and pop those off. And see how they work. Let's see. Though I do want to be a little bit careful. I don't want to exactly scratch this laptop any more than it already is. If I had a thinner plastic blade, yeah, see, like that. That's what we're trying to avoid. If I had a thinner plastic blade, then it might be less scary to do this. Okay. So these are stickers. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. I'm gonna put it over this little ThinkPad icon over here. Let's see. Yeah, still sort of getting accustomed to having this camera in the way. Let's see. Yeah. There we go. Put that over here. If you find yourself working on a similar laptop and you do not want to just absolutely tear off these stickers, I would recommend for you to go ahead and take your time. Just be gentle with it, especially if you're using a metal blade like I am, because it's very easy for the blade to skip, and that can make problems later. However, even if you do scratch these, I'm sure that there are replacements online. I just haven't really looked into it. Oh, something else I forgot to mention is that obviously before this procedure, I removed the battery. So I think that's a good thing to mention before I started unconnecting things and, you know, other stuff like that. Okay. So it looks like we have 3 crosshead screws here. I will go ahead and use a 0 crosshead bit and remove these screws. There we have 1. There's 2. And there is 3. So let's begin to gently sort of pry and see what is exactly stopping us from moving forward here. I feel like this is also held in place most likely by plastic clips. So yeah. So basically what I'm doing is inserting the flat edge and then gently moving to the right to release those plastic clips. I'm not aiming to break any of the clips, just removing and unlatching them from this housing. So very gently. And also, if you would not like to scratch the inside, you can also wrap the thin blade in some electrical tape. That's something that I usually do as well. However, I don't have electrical tape with me right now, so I'm just going to be as careful as I can be. Okay, nice and easy. Nice and easy. There we go. Yep. Let's see what else is holding this in place. Seems to be caught. Yeah. So there is this rubber sort of oh, it's not rubber. Yeah, that's something that you should watch out for as well. When you are lifting this frame, at least on the T530, there is a little cable here on the side that can get possibly caught under one of these plastic hooks. And I'll show that a little bit closer here. So there's this hook that can catch that little cable. You want to be very careful with that, because if that rips, that's just Another problem that you're gonna have to deal with later. So, just another word of caution. So now that we have removed that plastic bezel, it looks like we have these screws for the hinges. To remove the monitor itself, taking a closer look here. So, does seem to be a lot of rust as well, a lot of tarnish. Or maybe it's just brown, I don't know. So, right now, what I can see is that in these corners, there are these retaining brackets that are holding the screen down. I'm going to gently pry up on the screen to see if that's true. If that's the only thing keeping the screen in place. Oh. Yeah, it probably is. Or maybe not. We'll find out. So let's go ahead and move back to our crosshead bits and remove these screws as well. Okay. I'm going to remove this. So I have my screws here. This is just plastic. Okay. And some other screws here. So now that those screws have been removed, let's see. Yeah, so it's releasing. And while you are pulling it up, you still want to be very gentle. Let's see. What else is holding this in place? Yeah, that's why I thought. So it looks like, what is this hanging up on? Okay. It looks like the screen is also adhered to these metal brackets that are connected to the hinges as well. So let's go ahead and remove those. I'm gonna check if these are different lengths. Let's see. No, they're the same, thankfully. That's good. Okay, so I'm able to get under the screen and gently prying up. Let's see. Yeah, so there is a cable here, which is the same cable that I mentioned previously, connected to the side here. Let's take a closer look at that. Easy. So, and connect it to the camera. And looks to be, at least that piece, connected to that ribbon that we saw at the bottom as well. But it looks like it may have detached from the hinge, so once again, let's be very careful. Let's make sure that nothing is going to break on us as we move this forward. See? Yeah, just like that. So let's go ahead and release this ribbon connector. At least it looks like a ribbon connector. So. So now that has been released. Now it has come apart. Let's see. And this should be able to be very gently pulled away from there. But it's still connected to the back. So moving it from the bottom. Yeah. It's interesting. This is slightly more complicated than I was anticipating. Let's see here. Does this connect to anything? Yeah, I think that's all I'm going to be doing, because there was the option of either desoldering this wire and then resoldering it again, or just removing this bracket, which is probably more ideal. So let's go ahead and do that, especially because my Hako station is put away at the moment. I'm just going to remove this bracket. Yeah, and I can definitely appreciate that the viewing angles are not going to be great for this. It's sort of something a little bit difficult to capture. Okay, so now that it's been removed from the bracket, that will be no longer a danger. However, the laptop is still, or the screen is still linked on the other side with another bracket. So we're going to have to remove the screws on that as well. And once again, we have a car alarm at the best time possible. Oh. Sometimes you realize if you just say exactly what you're thinking, then you're gonna have to censor yourself. Okay, so now that the screen has been unlatched from there, we now have to move the laptop a little bit more delicately, because the screen is still attached to a ribbon cable on the back here. So we're going to remove some tape. Yeah, that's the thought, at least. Want to gently pry it away. Very gently. Move this up a little bit more. And we can see that it's sort of held down by this other very strong tape as well. So nice and easy. Yep, there it is. It comes out just like that. Oh wow, that is strong. Very, very strong adhesive. It's actually linked. I could see that, like, it's beginning to rip here because I'm not removing it correctly. Let's try getting under there, under this tape. So you may have realized by now, but I really cannot overemphasize what I'm about to say. I would highly, very strongly recommend that you work very, very slowly when you are doing this. If you're impatient, or if you rush, you do anything too quickly, then you're going to make your job a lot more difficult later. So just be gentle, take your time, no matter how tedious or frustrating it might be. Nice and easy. Yeah, and the tape is ripping as well. Yeah, that's always good. There. And it came out. And there we have it. Now, and this screen is completely removed. It looks like this was actually a Samsung screen. Here are the part numbers. If anyone is interested in a 1366 by 768 screen, like probably for a replacement or anything, this is what the part number is, I suppose. I think. I'm not entirely sure. But that being said, there isn't anything particularly wrong with this screen. It's just very, very low resolution. Okay. So now we will be moving on to the next screen. Okay, I have it unwrapped here. You know, I would be lying if I didn't just outright say this, but imagine if at this point I said something like, you know, the installation is the reverse of removal. That would be like the laziest thing I could possibly do. So, let's see. Okay, so this one is just going to slot in and be held down by tape. Once again, working very gently to make sure that the connector fits and all of that stuff. Okay, there it is. Now it's connected. We're going to put the tape back. Ideally, I would like replace this with some other tape, but I don't know yet. So now that the connector is in place, I think what I'm going to do is just sort of in this state. Let me actually see. Yeah, this bracket is a little bit in the way, which is, you know, it's fine, but let's just sort of move it a little bit out of the way so that you're able to see. Let's see if an image comes up on the screen. I'm going to reinsert the battery very carefully here. There we go. And turn on the computer. And it looks like it's working as it should be. Going to quickly check what the resolution of this screen is. You know, just, that's interesting. So I think the reason for this is because the computer has the settings of 1366 by 768. Once it's 1920 by 1080p, then it should all be fixed. Hopefully. Let's see. Also, if you think this is awkward, you are completely correct. This is very disorienting. I think this computer or this monitor has more brightness levels than the other one. So currently sets at 1366 by 768. Let's set that to okay, the resolution options are not available here. Might need to reinstall a driver or something like that. Yeah. I'm going to do some testing with this and I'll be right back. Okay, I have it unwrapped here. You know, I would be lying if I didn't just outright say this, but imagine if at this point I said something like, you know, the installation is the reverse of removal. That would be like the laziest thing I could possibly do. So, let's see. Okay, so this one is just going to slot in and be held down by tape. Once again, working very gently to make sure that the connector fits and all of that stuff. Okay, there it is. Now it's connected. We're going to put the tape back. Ideally, I would like replace this with some other tape, but I don't know yet. So now that the connector is in place, I think what I'm going to do is just sort of in this state. Let me actually see. Yeah, this bracket is a little bit in the way, which is, it's fine, but let's just sort of move it a little bit out of the way so that you're able to see. Let's see if an image comes up on the screen. I'm going to reinsert the battery very carefully here. There we go. And turn on the computer. And it looks like it's working as it should be. Going to quickly check what the resolution of this screen is. That's interesting. So I think the reason for this is because the computer has the settings of 1366 by 768. Once it's 1920 by 1080p, then it should all be fixed. Hopefully. Let's see. Also, if you think this is awkward, you are completely correct. This is very disorienting. I think this computer or this monitor has more brightness levels than the other one. So currently sets at 1366 by 768. Let's set that to okay, the resolution options are not available here. Might need to reinstall a driver or something like that. Yeah. I'm going to do some testing with this and I'll be right back. And we are back. As it turns out, the connector on the ribbon cable was a little bit dirty. Right now I have one screw in the top left corner over here on the bracket just to hold everything in place. But like I was saying before, the ribbon cable that we were looking at on the inside, it was just a little bit dirty, so I took some isopropyl alcohol over here and a little Q-tip, and I cleaned the interior of the connector as well as the bracket itself. So after all that has been cleaned, we can go ahead and take a look at the display settings here. And we can see, let me see if that even shows on camera actually. Yeah, might be a little hard to see. It is indeed 1920 by 1080. The viewing angles are much better and the brightness controls itself seem to be, and it's hard to see. There they are. Brightness controls still not as fine-tuned as, modern laptops, but it does get very bright. Yeah, this screen is definitely superior to the other one, especially as far as viewing angles are concerned. So with my fingers supporting the screen itself, I'm just going to remove this screw that I had on the bracket. Yeah, and that is why you want to be very, very careful when you are doing stuff like this. Thankfully, nothing catastrophic occurred, but you know, you just need to be very careful. Let's go ahead and very gently move this computer onto its side so that we could get a better view of installing. Yeah, this is gonna be fun. The screws into the bracket. All right. Yeah. So that one is fitting in. This one is fitting in as well. You know, if I were doing this off camera, it would be sort of a faster process. Just trying to show everything that's being done here. Okay. There we go. Now getting our first screw with the camera in the way. To stand. So do it over here first. There's number one. Easy. Easy does it. So I would not recommend doing this while the device is on, but you can. You just need to be very, very careful while you're doing so. This one. Okay, and that's two. Now let's go ahead and gently move this over to the next side. You know what? Let's turn off the computer first. I'll be more comfortable with that. Taking a look down here as well, making sure that these cables are routed where they need to be. Yeah, they keep on popping up. Nice and easy. And maybe I'll address that afterwards. Yeah. Yeah, let's actually put this screw here so that we could stop that from continuing to sort of fly back on us. Yeah, just like that. Fantastic. Just remember, don't get frustrated. Take your time. The best things take the most time. There we go. Just so lightly. We don't want to screw this all the way in because on the other side, we still need to be able to access that bracket. Easy. Easy does it. Now let's get that bracket out. Move this one. Slot it into place. Nice and easy. There we go. Taking the first screw. Actually, making sure that this is visible. No, it's not. Yeah, there we go. Now it can be seen. It's one. And now let's move on to the next screw. And I will actually remove this screw a little bit more. There. So that this can move a little bit more outward. We can, I keep hitting the camera, we can take this screw and move it into this housing. There we go. Nice and easy. Come on, work with me. Okay. With all 4 screws mounting the monitor into the bracket in place, we can go ahead and align the monitor back to where it needs to be. So, like this. Put the other screws into place. Easy. This one. And now let's go ahead and get the second one over here on the left. Keep trying. There we go. Okay. That's 2 screws. Let's move these cables back into place where they need to be. Yeah. Good. And now that all that is back into place, I think, you know, usually when I have a monitor or anything like this open, each iterative stage through the installation of the new, whatever it is, the new thing, I always like to, once again, turn on the item and make sure everything is functioning correctly. Also to ensure that I do not break a cable or mess anything up during the disassembly process. For me, it's very important to do things that way. For other people, they just test if it works, put it all back together, and, you know, it magically works. I like to test it a little bit more thoroughly. Okay. So now that it is working, let's go ahead and shut down the computer and put these screws back into these brackets, as well as putting the bezel back on as well. Where did I put those screws? Let me go ahead and put it this way. There they are. Yeah. This is the privilege of working on a small computer desk. Okay. Now that all of that is in place, go ahead and unplug the battery there. I will go ahead and put the bezel back on with its retaining screws, as well as the little stickers that thankfully have not gone all over the place during this disassembly process. Let's see. I think the light went out, bear with me. All right, and now we're back. I don't mind the white cable. It's just plugged into the iPhone because the camera was overheating. So basically going back to just gently pushing in these plastic clips. It looks like we have to do them from the bottom as well. Good Lord, the shaky camera. There we go. Okay. All right. So now that all the plastic pips is what I was about to say. Plastic clips are in place. We can go ahead and take our screws here and place them back into the bottom of the frame. Moving from left to right. Let's see. It's kind of tough to see here. I'm sort of holding it by hand as I do this. Once again, apologies for the shaky camera. There we go. And we have one more down here in the bottom right. There we go. Yeah, that cable. Every time I hit that cable. Okay. Ah. Okay. And once those screws are back into place, we can take those little stickers. Just stay still. Come on. And place them back where they need to go. So it looks like this one will be over here. Yeah. There we go. Just gonna hold it there for a second. Yeah. That looks good. That's one. Let's get the next one. Put it over here on this little ThinkPad logo, just so that I don't lose them. Let's see. that's too lopsided or not. No, it's not. Good. Okay, and let's go ahead and get the third one. Down here in the bottom left corner. Okay, so that looks pretty good to me. Yeah. Let's see. A little bit there. Yep. Okay, and now that those have been fully installed, let's go ahead and take a look at the computer starting up. Okay, so we have the laptop settled back into place. Let's go ahead and press the power button and take a look at the screen. Yep. And there you have it. And now it's 1080p. The viewing angles look better. And it was a pretty simple improvement, upgrade to make to these machines that are getting on in age. I do have a couple more things that are going to be done to this particular laptop, since this is a gift for someone else. I'm going to be installing RAM as well as a new solid state drive, because the mechanical drive on this is it's all right, but it's not as fast as it should be. So also going to be installing drivers on it, but that's probably going to be done off camera. It's going to be very tedious. But that being said, that completes the upgrade for this particular laptop. Upgrading from that 1366 by 768 screen to this 1920 by 1080p screen. Let's go ahead and take another look at that. Scrolling down here, there it is. 1920 by 1080. Yep. Yeah, and that's going to conclude today's video. So thank you all for watching, and I hope you all have a great day. Take care.